Van Adler and Stone introduces the halo protocol and its effects.
This chart plots wage variance against physical attractiveness. The data shows an anomaly in labor economics. Highly attractive individuals command a wage premium of up to 12%. The standard assumption is this premium is a fixed asset, a genetic baseline beyond an individual's control. However, labor data suggests a different driver. A significant portion of this economic advantage is behavioral. Isolating variables reveals grooming accounts for a 4 to 5% wage premium. For men, this single factor drives nearly half the total aesthetic premium. This shift means physical presentation is not an unchangeable trait, but a malleable variable. Personal grooming functions as a deliberate economic strategy, providing a measurable way to influence a professional's market value. To understand why a morning routine correlates with earning power, we have to look at the psychological mechanics underlying the data. This systemic framework relies on two psychological engines that dictate performance and perception. First, the external projection of traits onto observers, known as the halo effect. Second, the internal shift within the practitioner, a phenomenon called enclothed cognition. Mastering these two mechanisms turns a standard morning routine into a functional system for professional optimization. Focusing on the right side of the model allows us to deconstruct the external mechanics of the halo effect. The halo effect occurs when one prominent positive visual characteristic leads an observer to subconsciously project other favorable traits onto that person. A polished appearance acts as the initial trigger. Once established, it prompts observers to assume the subject also possesses traits like discipline and reliability. Labor market research by Dipboy and Ritz supports this, showing that physically attractive job applicants often perform better throughout the entire application process due to this natural cognitive bias. This bias translates into the 4 to 5% earning premium for well-groomed individuals identified in the economic data. This chart shows how the grooming premium varies across different sectors, a concept known as occupational sorting. The impact is statistically highest in professional, managerial, and client-facing roles, occupations where trust and attention to detail are primary metrics of success. Historically, this polished standard has been utilized as a baseline for authority in professional settings. The underlying mechanism is simple. Meticulous grooming signals a high level of self-discipline, which clients and employers conflate with competence in other areas. Leveraging the halo effect allows a professional to influence the perceived trust and competence of a room before the first meeting begins. Now we shift to the left side of our model to examine the impact of grooming on the practitioner's own neurobiology. The core of this internal vector is enclothed cognition, famously explored in the Adam and Galinsky white coat experiments. This graphic shows that participants wearing what they believed was a doctor's coat scored significantly higher on attention-related tasks than those wearing an identical coat they believed was a painter's smock. This principle suggests that the symbolic meaning we attach to our presentation alters our own cognitive processing and attention. Recent data from the Journal of Behavioral Health connects this clothing principle to physical grooming and skincare routines. The biological impact is specific. Maintaining a regular grooming routine can reduce cortisol, the body's stress hormone, by up to 83%. These routines provide a predictable structure that serves as an anchor against daily performance anxiety. The brain registers this methodical act of self-care as a signal of high personal value and readiness for the tasks ahead. Enclothed cognition effectively primes executive function for high-stakes professional environments. The internal vector also relies on psychophysical mechanics to stabilize long-term confidence. This White Rose University study investigated how specific grooming behaviors affect an individual's self-perceived body image. The researchers measured the point of subjective equality, or PSE, which evaluates how accurately a person perceives their own physical self. The data revealed that completing a grooming routine measurably corrects and normalizes an individual's PSE. By aligning internal perception with physical reality, this correction reduces negative self-assessment and facilitates greater social assertiveness. We see this reflected in historical precedents, such as Roman military discipline, where clean-shaven faces were a ritualized sign of sophistication and self-control. A disciplined grooming routine recalibrates internal self-perception, providing a stable foundation for confidence in the workplace. We can now see how these integrated vectors function as a unified operational protocol. Both psychological engines are now actively feeding the central objective of professional output. This framework uses repeatable daily acts to establish a high level of mental control. This creates a reinforcing feedback loop between internal neurobiology and external perception. Looking polished enhances internal cognition, which projects outward as confidence, subsequently triggering the external halo effect in colleagues and clients. Grooming acts as a foundational layer that helps engineer an environment to reward the individual. This evidence challenges the vanity fallacy, the idea that aesthetic maintenance is merely a superficial indulgence. The quantifiable results are clear: an earnings premium, a significant reduction in cortisol, and improved executive function. Deliberate physical presentation is a highly functional tool for exercising absolute personal agency over your entire professional narrative. In a competitive landscape, personal presentation should be managed as a strategic asset rather than a daily chore. By formalizing your presentation, you calibrate the internal mindset required to perform and the external environment required to be recognized for it.
Van Adler and Stone, always the very best.